Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host, and this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. But this time, we're going to take a look at some religious comics and, religion and comics in a way. And what we're going to look at first here is not a comic book, as you can see. This is a publication from the Jehovah's Witnesses, Awake, from June of 1983, and it has in this particular, and they always have various articles and stuff. And this is about comic books. That's why I have it. Comic books. Should your child read them? And it's an article. But one thing about these JW publications is that they always have some really nicely done and nicely drawn illustrations, just like here on the cover. Usually just a few. And says all that stuff. Says what has happened to comics, and starts off with talking a little bit about comics in general, and then they a brief but reasonable history of comics and comic books and comic strips. Even though it's the focus is primarily comic books, everything it shows here are from early comic strips in the newspaper. And then talks about the rise of the superheroes and stuff. And it's here, and then it gets up to Frederick Wortham's seduction of the innocent and stuff. And while the article basically takes Frederick Wortham's side in taking what he said and the that comics can be bad. Well, anything can be bad. And then it says the way they are today. And here it shows. See if you can see those. A variety of comic. Of course, this is from 1983, and this is still in the Bronze Age. I mean, they're very tame compared to today. But it has Defenders, Flash, Aryan, but then here it shows actually 3 Golden Age titles to when they're talking regarding their sexiness and stuff like that. And it talks about how they get they basically don't distinguish the difference between fantasy and reality. And this is all the magic and of course they generally consider the superpowers and stuff magical. They don't say that, but that is the general idea. And and talk about the violence and stuff. So here's another one of the real nice illustrations. It says, "Are you concerned if your children imitate violent comic book characters?" Well, it's fantasy violence. It's not real violence for the most part. And should your children read them and everything, and about the violence and other stuff. That's basically, even though in the context of the article, it says, okay, Wortham said this, studies show this, but we're going to take Wortham's side because we don't think it's right, and stuff like that. And then it comes around to something better than comic books. If they want to be interested in superheroes and stuff, get them interested in the biblical characters and biblical stories and stuff like that. And still not realizing the difference. Another real nice illustration. Not realizing that most of the biblical stories and heroes are just as much fantasy as Superman and Spider-Man, for example. And then it gets off to other stuff that are unrelated. And here on the back, the mysterious beasts of Revelation. We're talking about Revelation, but again, a really nicely done illustration on the back. And of course, this is 42 years old, almost 42 years old. And actually, I got this, must be over 30 years ago, from Bud Plant. They had a whole bunch of them, and they sold them. Because comic book people are interested in these things. Then, of course, there have been various and sundry religious comic books. Of course, EC was educational comics before it became entertaining comics, and they did a lot of educational and religion oriented comic stories before the old man died and Bill Gaines took over and turned it into probably the best comic book publisher of the late golden age, possibly of all history. Okay, and of course, you see, everyone is probably somewhat familiar with the Chick books. I've covered several of the Chick books before, and the tracts. You get the tracts. Is probably the most commonly known Chick publications, which are done in comic strip format. And of course, and I won't get into any of the nastiness that the Chick publishing gets into. But here's one that is actually, I think, locally produced from and this is years and years old, but it's on the same format. And it's a little nicer drawing. Now here, of course, this is the only representation for the Chick books I've brought out for this, because I've done the Chicks before. This is, of course, King of Kings, the Volume 1, and is basically, but heck, see the beautiful artwork, and very able to depict the the horrifying aspects in a very, very powerful way. Very nice artwork, and the Chick books tend to devolve into being hateful to certain other religious groups. But I still like the books for what they are. And this one is just depicting bits of stories from the Bible. And here we have, this is Joseph. This is from 1987. Joseph the Kid Whose Dreams Came True. Way, way back many centuries ago, not long after the Bible began, Jacob lived in the land of Canaan, a fine example of a family man. Jacob and Sons. Yeah, Joseph had an amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical, starring most recently Donny Osmond. And if you're interested, there is a free version of Donny Osmond as in Joseph and His Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat on YouTube. So if you're so inclined to check it out. And of course, it is the story of Joseph. And I won't talk too much about this just because I plan on doing an in-depth on it. Now here you have, this is from, I said 1987, from Tyndall House. And I also have Moses. I would like to get Samson. And these were, I saw some of these on spinner rack in either a grocery store or a drugstore. I can't remember which. Way back in the 80s, and some cute characterization. I want to take a look at that one. And then, but one of the best ones that are known, of course, are the Spire comics, and of course, and they were all done by Al Hartley. And the Spire books. Here's a Adventure with the Brothers. I did one other one of the Brothers, and once before on here. And of course, Al Hartley, but he is they're probably best known for doing all those Archie religious comics. And in fact, from what I understand, those comics got a lot of readers into the regular Archie comics, which I think is good. Al Hartley. And I'll plan on doing an in-depth on that one too. Then here's one. It's coverless, and I don't know what year that's from. This one's from 1982, and this is coverless. There's a New World Coming, and this is just, but this is based on. See, a lot of these were based on other on books. the non-Archie ones, were often some original and some based on other books. There's a new world coming, and this is loosely based on Hal Lindsey's The Late Great Planet Earth. And it's all about Revelation. And they talk about of course, the Antichrist, even though there is no Antichrist in Revelation, and the rapture, even though there is no rapture in the Bible. The rapture is only 200 years old. The concept of the rapture is only 200 years old. Started by Charles Nelson Darby in the 1820s, I believe it was. But it has just permeated Christianity, at least in this part of the world. Most evangelical, and I think even Catholic circles. I'm not sure. There's God's Smuggler. Still Al Hartley. These are all done by Al Hartley. And he's a nice, and of course, he is probably best known for doing the Spire comics, but he was prior to that, he was a regular comic artist, did a lot for Archie and some at Marvel as well. That's all those. And Adam and Eve, just a reinterpretation of the Adam and Eve story. Did another one of these. It was the Alpha and the Omega, and it was done as a science fiction story, but still Al Hartley. There's Crossfire. I've got 2 copies of this one, and does it say? Yeah, 76. Notice we're going back a bit. Originally it's 76, and I did an in-depth on this one, based on the story of a police officer. And then Live It Up. And this is a retelling of I'm a Free Spirit, yeah. From 76. Is a retelling of the story of the prodigal son. And there are so many more out there. I like the Spire comics. Or when I can, I like to get any of the religious comics that I can, just because they are so unusual and relatively rare. So that is all I really had to share with you this time around. So I do want to thank you for joining me. So please like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. Which, if any of these religious comics do you have or have you read? And or tracts? Let me know in those comments down below. And do remember, comics are art.